We're staged for another run of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, with Marty Huff and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. Robert Hight inches his way towards the funny car points lead with a win at Texas Motorplex. And Jason Line makes it a 3-horse race in Pro Stock. We'll talk to both today. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast around the world, this is The Straight Line on Drag Racing at MRN.com. Along with 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff. And Doug, coming off the weekend at Texas Motorplex, I think the good, the bad, and the ugly is probably a good way to describe that weekend. Really good for the winners. We will talk to two of those, Robert Hight and Jason Line, today. The bad, winding up some of those championship contenders that probably fell out, in the ugly being Steve Torrance's wreck.
Pretty impressive, though, Steve Torrance, to go through that bad crash and then get the car back to the next round, up to the starting line, and they made a pretty darn good run. So, yeah, really good job by Steve Torrance's team to get that car back up the starting line. That was impressive.
Now, unfortunately, you've been in that situation a couple of times. When the bleep factor happens, what is your reaction at that point?
Well, Steve obviously was able to get out of the car and let everybody know that he was okay. So that's a big deal. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that car hit the wall pretty hard.
Yeah. So
that was really lucky that he got out of that as unscathed as he has. I've hit the wall at Texas Motorplex and rang my bell a little bit. And actually, it was in eliminations. We got a car back for the next round as well. But that's a tough thing. Jimmy Nix hit the wall down there at Texas Motorplex, very much the same as Steve Torrance did, except his car went over the wall and he lost his life when his car hit the time,
the stanchion
scoreboard
there. Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough thing, and I don't know how can they fix that besides just have elevated scoreboards. But it really goes to a testament of how safe these cars are. When Steve Torrance hit the wall going over 300 miles an hour and hopped out of the car, he was okay.
Yeah.
It's the advances that there have been in the past few years. There's a lot of head restraint and containment padding that they've built up in the driver's compartments. So the driver's compartments of the car, we saw Antron Brown a couple years ago at Pomona had a pretty bad crash, basically jumped out of the car. He was okay, and this one was Steve Torrance. So really lucky to have the improvements made that we've had on driver safety.
Yeah, and no question. And yesterday, a press release was sent out by the representatives of Steve Torrance Racing and the Capco team. And I'll read a couple of sentences from it. It says, first of all, we want you to know that we understand the dangers of drag racing and accept them. We've been drag racing our whole lives. It's a sport and passion with great people. It's one of the things that has kept our family close. Saying that, we love the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. After the deaths of Blaine Johnson, Eric Midland, Scott Coletta, the commitment of the NHRA officials and team owners to a higher level of safety is more than likely the reason Steve was able to walk away from Sunday's accident at Texas Motorplex. We can't thank NHRA enough for the rules that make it possible, and God bless the safety safari. Very appreciative, grateful words from Steve Torrance. And correct, the safety safari do the best job in motorsports.
Well, yeah, they do a great job, and the training that goes into that, and SFI Foundation, the chassis builders, the crew chiefs. There's a lot of different factors that have went into the changes that have been made over the past few years, and none more important than the loss. And it's unfortunate that we make these changes after we lose, Blaine Johnson or Scott Coletta or Darrell Russell. I mean, unfortunately, that's when the changes come, is after we lose somebody. So it's unfortunate, but it's a testament to, these cars are pretty darn safe for as fast as they go. For Steve Torrance to be able to hop out of that car and walk away from a crash like that, and not only that, come back an hour later and race again.
Yeah,
pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I guess one of the big ironies, and there were a lot of ironies for that crash, but that's a Morgan Lucas chassis built in part by Richie Crampton. Richie Crampton was in the other lane racing him. And so, I mean, there was just a lot of weird ironies to that whole deal. But we're glad that Steve is safe and was able to come back.
Absolutely. I think another couple of big things. John Force Racing double up with Brittany Force and Robert Hight. We're going to talk to Robert here a little bit later. That was a pretty big weekend. And then, the points races are coming down. I think Top Fuel is for sure at least a 4-horse race here between Steve Torrance, Brittany Force, Doug Coletta, and Antron Brown. Antron Brown being the only Don Schumacher racing car that's really in it. And, he's 100 points back, so he's got his work cut out for him. In Funny Car, it's a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
We've got Ron Capps and Robert Hight. Marty, you and I were talking about that a little bit before we got on the air, but that's Ron Tobler versus Jimmy Prock.
Yes.
And, everybody will remember last winter, Jimmy Prock left Don Schumacher Racing, went over to Force. Boy, there's that's going to be a tough fight. And let me tell you, everything that Force has, everything that Schumacher has is on the line. It's going to be a great dogfight with that Funny Car Championship.
Yeah, and if you'll remember, probably right at Pomona or just a couple of races into the season, Don Schumacher had come out and pretty much publicly said he really didn't like what John Force had done going over and getting Jimmy Prock and paying him a really handsome salary to do so, and claiming basically that it's pushing up the salaries of other crew chiefs basically by doing that. I'm not sure if I buy that or not. I think there was just maybe some sour grapes along the way, but that comes along with a rivalry. That comes along with the competition factor. But boy, if Jimmy Prock comes over the year after he was hired and wins a championship for John Force Racing, that rivalry is just going to be solidified for many years to come if that happens.
Yeah, it's heating up there for sure. So the Funny Car, we've got a 2-horse race coming down there into the final 2 races now of the season. And the thing that I forgot about a couple weeks ago, Marty, you reminded me of 1.5 points at Pomona.
Yeah.
So they're going to be getting 150% of points at Pomona. 1.5 points is going to be that'll be a big deal going into Pomona. If somebody goes out early, even if they're then hanging on to a championship hope in 4th place, all of a sudden, that opens up the door. In Pro Stock, I think we've got a 3-horse race as far as I'm concerned, between Greg Anderson, Jason Lyon, the KB Racing guys in 1st and 3rd, and then Bo Butner sandwiched between them. I think what we've got there.
And right now, there's 30 points separating 1st to 3rd in Pro Stock between Greg Anderson and Jason Lyon. When you go to Pomona, each round is worth 30 points. So basically, that's just going to be one round. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of a points shuffle once we leave Las Vegas. But as of
Greg
right
and
now,
Jason seem to do really, really well at Vegas. They've always done.
Yes.
They've always done well in Vegas. Their team owner, Ken Black, that's
correct.
his home track. For some reason, Jason and Greg have both done really, really well in the past at Vegas. Moving on to Pro Stock Motorcycle, I think it's a 2-bike race, but Eddie Krawick is dominating so much. Yeah. It's not over, but it's going to be really hard to beat the Vincent Hines Harley with Eddie Krawick. The performance, Eddie does a great job. It's going to be a really, really tough thing to beat Eddie Krawick off that number 1 spot.
That really has been a team effort from the Harley group, because if you remember about, I believe it was Englishtown, they brought in a new bike. They tried to shake that down, went through a really low stretch where they really struggled with that bike, basically cut it up and added some of the parts and pieces of the old bike to the new bike, and found a pretty good combination. But it hasn't been just one aspect of that team. That's been rider, that's been chassis people, that's been the tuners, that's been Matt Hines, Andrew Hines, Eddie Krawick, everybody involved in that one to make that bike go.
Right, and everybody remember, if you were listening a couple weeks ago, we had Eddie Krawick on with us, and he kind of explained some of those trials and tribulations and modifications that they've been going through to get that bike to where it is. Harley-Davidson basically required them to have new bikes, their street rod bike or whatever. So they, their old V-Rod bike, all of a sudden it's gone. They had to have a whole new look for it, and they decided, well, this is a good time to, do a chassis change and do this big change. And then all of a sudden they figured out, oh boy, that was a little bit complicated, even for Vance and Hines, which is, that
cream of the
tells
crop.
you, boy, that they stepped into a big challenge there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and no question. And it looks like Eddie Krawick and that Vance and Hines team heading for another championship. When we return, more of the Straight Line coming up.
O'Reilly. 1 out of every 4 batteries will fail this winter. Get yours tested for free during Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll help determine the life of your battery or the perfect replacement. Plus, take advantage of the mail-in rebates on select Superstart batteries. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, Junior Nation, MRN and Wrangler want to send you and a guest to Miami and Ford Championship Weekend to cheer on Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his final Cup Series race.
Enter now at MRN.com for a trip of a lifetime. The grand prize includes travel and hotel accommodations, grandstand tickets for all 3 races, pace car rides, pit passes, and much more.
It's the Salute to Junior Sweepstakes presented by the Wrangler Performance Series. Jeans and pants for less restrictions and more living.
Try on a pair today.
Race fans, visit Camping World of Concord for convenient one-stop shopping on outdoor accessories, top brand RVs, and quality service. Buy an RV and enroll in the Good Sam Elite loyalty program, offering incentives valued at over $2,000. Browse over 10,000 Camping World products and accessories in America's largest RV dealer network. Plus, shop the top manufacturers such as Coleman, Keystone, Newmar, Thor Motor Coach, Winnebago, and many more. America's #1 RV dealer has something for everyone. Visit Camping World of Concord today. See dealer for full details and disclaimers.
Welcome back to the Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being with us here on the Straight Line at MRN.com. Funny Car has come down to a 2-car battle for the 2 last races of the season. That's because Robert Hight put himself in victory circle this past weekend at Texas Motorplex, and he joins us now on the guest line. Robert, congratulations on the win, a huge win for you guys.
Thank you very much, guys. It was a big weekend for us, and thanks for having me on.
Well, you bet. Robert, you're a winner. That's the main thing. And going into that final round, there had to be a little bit of extra pressure, knowing that, 20 points around, but when you're racing the guy that you have to beat, all of a sudden that's a 40-point swing. That was a crucial win going into these last couple races.
It was huge, and it is a lot of pressure. That team, they've won 8 races over there this year. Caps has been rolling. They're doing well, and he's the reigning champ. So, if you want to get closer or hopefully get that points lead, you've definitely got to take them out. And they've been whipping up on us in final rounds this year. So I think maybe we turned the tables there at least for one race.
Well, Robert, it seems like, looking at back, it seems like the entire year, your team and the Force Racing teams have been low ET, top speed, at time after time, race after race, but you haven't had quite that, you haven't been able to put those 4-round wins together on Sunday, but it looks like here recently you sure have been able to put that together.
Yes, it's getting better. We're starting to race smarter, and we're still, running well. When our car goes down the track, it's usually quicker and faster than just about every car out there. So we're learning. It's taken Jimmy Prock all year to get a handle on this 6-disc clutch, because this is the first year he's ever ran it, and he still believes there's a lot more potential there.
We were talking just before you came on here, and it looks like, as we mentioned, this is probably going to be a 2-car race down to the end against 2 friends and confidants in crew chiefs, Jimmy Prock and Ron Tobler. This should be really interesting between 2 guys that really know what they're doing and have been doing it together for a long time as well.
Exactly. Yeah, they worked pretty close over there the last 2 years when Jimmy was over there with them, and I know they go and do things on vacations together. But Jimmy Prock is a very focused individual. I mean, he's very good at being able to put things aside and focus on that race car. And I joked with the Fox people this weekend on TV. It's you could light that trailer on fire, and until Jimmy felt a lot of heat, he is focused on that computer and what he's going to do for the next run. Nothing. I mean, you could have naked girls run in front of him, and he would not even notice. I promise.
Hey, Robert, one of the things that we've been pretty excited about here all year is the speeds that your car and a couple of the other cars run, but really your car, that getting to 340 miles an hour actually was seeming like a pretty attainable thing. Do you see that happening at one of these last couple races?
Yeah, I do. Vegas might be a little tough because I don't think you make enough horsepower in Vegas.
Yep.
But you also have less air drag. It's up there pretty good in elevation. Honestly, first round last week in Texas, I think that run there could have been the first 340-mile-an-hour run. We ran 290 at half track, which is what you need to do to run 340. But we had a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, and it ran 338.60. So that one might have been one that got away based on Mother Nature and the wind.
Robert, put on your team president's hat for a second. How big is a John Force Racing double up with you and Brittany Force winding up in the victory circle as well? It's the second time that's happened in your in the history of John Force Racing.
It's very cool. But I think what makes this one a little more special is that we're both in the thick of things for the championship points hunt. And to do it, in the countdown, she's got 2 wins in the countdown, Reading and Dallas. I have 2 wins in the countdown. So we're definitely better race teams than we were a year ago, because at this point in the game last year, we were written off. We didn't have a chance at winning a championship, and that wasn't a good feeling. So we went to work over the winter and got Jimmy Prock, Chris Cunningham back with us, and really have turned things around at John Force Racing. So it's fun right now. We're having a lot of fun, and yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, but I tell you, this is why we do this.
Hey, Robert, real quick, is the Monster? It sounded like they kind of gave you guys a little bit of an early notice that they might be leaving. But if Brittany goes out there and wins the championship, is there a chance that could change anything there?
Yeah, I don't think Monster's going to leave. We're in negotiations right now with them, and they love the NHRA and drag racing. Just there's a lot of other things that they're involved in. So I'm pretty positive you're going to still see Monster on that car next year, and without a doubt, if she could win this championship, I think that'd be hard for them to cut back or walk away.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
You mentioned Las Vegas. From my recollections, Vegas has been one of those tracks that's been really good to you.
It has. It's been very good to us. I think actually I've won more there than anybody else has. So it has been a good race for us. In 2009, when I won the championship, to this point I've won the exact same races: Charlotte, Dallas, and then we went on to win Vegas, and that was good enough to get the championship. So, man, I hope history repeats itself.
Well, I'll tell you what, you seem to be doing a great job over there now. How are all the John Force Racing sponsors, the AAA and everybody that involved with your teams? They got to be pretty excited about the momentum that you guys have right now.
They are very excited. It's been good. It was perfect timing for us to pull off a double, at the AAA Texas race. AAA Auto Club, they have signed on with us. We have a 5-year deal starting in January, and it's a real good deal. It's the best deal we have over here. And John has a long-term deal with Peak, and Courtney signing on with Advance Auto this year. We're looking strong, and the results that we're getting on the racetrack are really helping all this. So, and another thing is NHRA has done a great job with the TV, and we're seeing packed crowds everywhere we go.
Yeah.
And other motorsports can't say the same.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and we're probably going to see more of that coming up at Las Vegas. He's the driver of the Auto Club Chevrolet for John Force Racing, winner at the Texas Motorplex, Robert Hight. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win. Good luck coming up here in a couple of weeks in Las Vegas.
All right, guys, thank you. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
Absolutely. Robert Hight, former Funny Car champion, going for number 2 later on this year at Pomona, because that's how far that's going to go down to, no doubt about that. When we return, we'll have more of the Straight Line.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Welcome to beautiful Phoenix Raceway. We're just moments from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series semifinal. But all eyes are on one man, the people's champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. The semifinal. The farewell. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Think about the Can-Am 500, November 10th through the 12th. Guarantee your seats now at PhoenixRaceway.com.
Live sports are the one true reality entertainment, where a single dramatic moment can become timeless. In NASCAR, Motor Racing Network's live broadcasts elevate your senses to the sights, sounds, and struggles taking place on the racetrack.
Keselowski to the bottom of the racetrack. He tries to slide up. Newman is there. Sideways is Keselowski.
The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, once again, here's Doug and Marty.
Doing a little homework before the show and saw that Jason Line, with his win at Texas Motorplex, had won his second race of the year, and I thought that can't be right. I had to go back and do some other math, but that was exactly the case. Finds himself only 30 points back of his teammate and current points leader, Greg Anderson. And right now we welcome in to the Straight Line the driver of the Summit Chevy 4KB Racing, Jason Line, winner at Texas Motorplex. Jason, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it, and congratulations. Big win for you guys.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was a really big win. You weren't the only one who noticed that it's only my second one of the year. So it's been a little bit of a painful season, but we're getting off to a good finish, and that's what matters, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, it can't be too painful when you guys are, in the top 3 in points. Maybe last year, Jason, did it get you guys a little bit spoiled because you guys really had a domination on the Pro Stock class last year, and you're getting back to where you're low ET top speed KB Racing guys, but it's not quite that domination. The other guys caught you just a little wee bit.
Yeah, not even close to domination. No, it's for me, I was barely. It was hardly even participation in most of the years. So I just really, it hasn't been much of a year for me. But you'll have times like that, and I've never been like a huge fan of the countdown. But this year, I'm like a super big fan of the countdown. So
right.
Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you. But like I said, we're getting off to a good finish. But our team has had a good year. Obviously Greg and Bo have both done well. I just haven't really held up my end of the deal.
Well, it seems like, like I said, with Greg and Bo, I know how hard you guys work over there. Every time I've come over there to visit you guys, it's like, okay, Doug, great to see you, buddy, and we got to get back to work. Like, you guys are always after it, and I'm sure that there's nothing different right now. How are things going for these last couple races? Is there any Are you guys continuing to do advancements that can help you with performance for the last couple of races?
Well, we've tried, as we always do, but right now, really nothing. For me, it seems like you get to a point where you do some things that maybe you try maybe a little bit too hard. And right now, I'm not doing that. I have a good package. My car is decent right now, and that's what we're going to finish with. So. Greg, on the other hand, he's got some other stuff to work on for his, but I'm gonna finish with what I got, and if it's not good enough, then it's not good enough. But right now, I can't afford to take a step backwards because I just don't really have a no performance advantage. I can certainly run with everybody, but I can't lose anything. So we're gonna finish out with what we have. Hope it's enough.
Well, Jason, one thing that you and Greg have both done is you've done really well in Las Vegas, particularly in kind of the home base for Ken Black, your team owner. That has to feel pretty good going to a place where you've had pretty great success over the years.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And right now we've ran pretty well everywhere for the most part. I struggled a little bit more with my car this year. We have a new Goodyear tire. It's a super good tire. Unfortunately, my car has decided it doesn't care for the tire as much as the other two. So struggled with it a little bit, but finally getting a better handle on it. So I feel good about Vegas, and certainly I like our odds.
Jason, your position with KB Racing, along with championship driver, is the customer relations portion of the business. And your biggest customer right now is Bo Butner. And Bo Butner right now is just a little bit ahead of you. How does that relationship work now that we're getting down to deciding a championship, and how you're treating that car along with the red car of Greg and your blue car?
Well, apparently it works better for Bo than me.
Really?
So, yeah, he's ahead of me. So he's been ahead of all of us all year. So no, he's a character, and it's certainly a lot of fun, and we've enjoyed having him as a customer, and I feel like he, obviously he's very happy. So we don't treat the car any different than we do mine, and it is what it is. So at some point, it just comes down to a little bit of luck, and whatever happens. And Bo's raced long enough; he understands that as well. And he certainly he has a great chance of winning the championship because he's really probably got the best car out there. Just had a little slip up this weekend, and again it happens, but I don't think it's going to happen again.
So the many times that we've talked to either Greg or you both of you are working at the shop and basically shoulder to shoulder, and now you're 30 points away from each other with 2 races left to go. So is there any mind games being played? A little, maybe a little smack talk around the shop?
No, I'm gonna ignore him for the next couple of weeks. So, idea. Certainly there's good natured ribbing every now and again, but he's pretty serious. So and so am I at times. But I think at this point, we're just we're going to feel very fortunate as long as one of the 3 of us wins the championship. So it's tough. It's a tough gig, and there's no guarantees. So Tanner Gray's been super tough, and that whole team, and Drew Stillman and all those guys. So there's no guarantees yet. I like our spot. I think we're in a good place, but you still got to go do it, and we can make mistakes, and they can get hot. So you just never know. But right now, like I said, I'm not willing to trade places. So I think I like being a little bit of an underdog anyway. So we're in a good place. Well,
Jason Line, congratulations on your win last weekend at the Texas Motorplex. We'll look forward to seeing you. It seems like I always see you every year up here at the Stocks for Tots thing. So I'll look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully give you or Greg congratulations on winning the championship this year. Great job.
I hope so too, and I look forward to seeing you as well, Doug.
That's Jason Line, driver of the KB Summit Chevy and winner at the Texas Motorplex this weekend, and headed to Vegas and hoping for 2 in a row as the season winds down in NHRA.
I don't know if you heard, he threw in there, he said, I like my odds in Vegas. So he's, Jason has a little bit of a flat sense of humor, but he does come out with them once in a while. You got to pay close attention.
Yeah, you got to be on your toes when you're around Jason Line, because he will throw those zingers in there. When we return, we'll wrap up another great edition of The Straight Line.
O'Reilly.
1 out of every 4 batteries will fail this winter. Get yours tested for free during Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll help determine the life of your battery or the perfect replacement. Plus, take advantage of the mail-in rebates on select Superstart batteries. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly. Auto Parts.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being with us on The Straight Line here at MRN.com. We mentioned at the top of the show, Texas Motorplex was kind of the good, the bad, the ugly this weekend with some good news, some bad news, and some ugly parts as well. And another one of those was Daniel Wilkerson had a pretty massive explosion. We've got some footage of that. When obviously you're a dragster guy, but you've also had those massive engine explosions like that. What does a driver go through when you have something like that just absolutely is like pulling the pin out of a grenade?
Watching that there on the screen, Daniel had his hands full, but he did a good job keeping the car straight and keeping it going. The thing that happens is when you have that big of an explosion, a lot of times it'll blow your shield up on your helmet, so it burns your eyes. So you got to be pretty careful with that. But they've got those funny cars down where they're, about like the advances we were talking about earlier with the dragsters. They've got them safer. They've got the funny cars safer. Yeah. All in all, they're a lot safer cars than they were 10 years ago. So we're, we got to be pretty thankful for that. Hey, another thing we didn't bring up was Langdon going over to funny cars. So still a little bit of uncertainty what's going to happen there, but Sean Langdon heading over to a funny car for 2018. As we get more information about that, we'll bring everybody up to speed there.
Yeah, and hopefully before the season ends, we'll have Sean Langdon and talk about a little bit about the decision to go from a dragster to the funny car, and following his teammate J.R. Todd, who did the same exact thing last year. So and that'll be something to watch here on The Straight Line. Thanks to everybody involved in this week's show. So for Doug, I am Marty. We will talk to you next week here on MRN.com and The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and was brought to you by Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Thursday on MRN.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.